The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in absolute chaos. 12 different species, each with their own translators, sensory requirements, and atmospheric needs, all tried to speak at once. The crystalline chimes of the Zalathi harmonized discordantly with the bass rumbles of the Gron, while the Vorthak representatives' telepathic emanations created ripples of anxiety throughout the chamber. Order, the council arbiter, a ancient Corvani whose scales had long since turned silver with age, struck the resonance gavel 3 times. The sound waves, calibrated to affect all known nervous systems, brought immediate silence. Ambassador Krexis Theta of the Vorthak hegemony has the floor. The Vorthak rose, its forearms gesturing in precise geometric patterns that emphasized its words. 17 cycles ago, our perimeter sensors detected an impossibility. A ship, a human ship, materialized inside the Nexus Point exclusion zone. The ambassador paused, letting the weight of this statement settle. As you all know, nothing can enter the Nexus Point. Nothing has entered it for 10,000 years, not since the architects sealed it. Yet there it sits, the UES Prometheus, a human exploration vessel that should not exist in that space. The chamber erupted again, but this time with a different quality of sound. Fear mixed with wonder, suspicion mixed with awe. Commander Zara Thorne woke to the taste of copper and the sound of alarms. Red emergency lights bathed the bridge of the Prometheus in hellish hues, and her first coherent thought was that something had gone terribly, impossibly wrong. Status report, she barked, her voice hoarse as if she'd been screaming. Around her, the bridge crew stirred with similar confusion, each member reaching for controls with the uncertain movements of the recently unconscious. Lieutenant Chen, her navigation officer, was the first to respond, though his voice carried an edge of panic she'd never heard before. Commander, this can't be right. According to our position, we're nowhere. Define nowhere, Lieutenant. I mean, we're not on any chart. The stars are wrong. Everything is wrong. We should be in the Kepler 442 system, but these constellations, they don't match anything in our database. Zara pulled herself fully upright, ignoring the protestations of her muscles. The main view screen showed a sight that made her breath catch. Space here was different, not the familiar black dotted with stars, but a deep purple canvas streaked with ribbons of gold and silver light that moved like living things. In the distance, a structure floated that defied comprehension, a sphere of impossible geometry, surfaces that seemed to fold in on themselves, architecture that hurt to perceive directly. How long were we out? She asked, though part of her feared the answer. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's chief medical officer, checked her instruments with shaking hands. According to the chronometer, 6 hours. But Commander, she paused, running the scan again. Our biological readings suggest we've been unconscious for much longer. Days, maybe weeks. It doesn't make sense. Before Zara could respond, the tactical station erupted in warnings. Lieutenant Commander Torres, the security chief, went pale. Commander, we have company. Multiple vessels on approach vector. Configuration unknown, but they're big. Really big. The ships that emerged from the cosmic aurora were unlike anything in Earth's database. Organic curves met crystalline angles in designs that suggested both grown and built, ancient and impossibly advanced. The lead vessel alone dwarfed the Prometheus by a factor of 10. Incoming transmission, reported Ensign Okonkwo from communications. It's in English, Commander. Perfect English. On screen. The face that appeared was vaguely humanoid but wrong in every specific. Too many eyes, arranged in a pattern that suggested mathematical precision rather than evolution. Skin that shifted between scales and something like polished stone. When it spoke, the lips didn't quite match the words, as if the English was being generated by something other than the visible mouth. Human vessel, Prometheus. I'm Admiral Vrexkar of the Vorthak hegemony. You are in violation of Galactic Treaty 77 Alpha. This zone has been forbidden for 10 millennia. Your presence here is not just illegal, it is impossible. You will explain how you have achieved this impossibility, or we will be forced to assume you have stolen architect technology. Zara stood, straightening her uniform out of habit more than necessity. Admiral, I'm Commander Zara Thorne of the United Earthship Prometheus. I can assure you we have no knowledge of any galactic treaty, and we certainly haven't stolen anything. We were on a routine exploration mission to Kepler 442 when... She paused, realizing she had no idea what had happened. When we experienced an anomaly. Commander Thorne. The Admiral's multiple eyes narrowed in a way that transcended species to convey suspicion. No ship can enter the nexus point without architect technology. The barriers are absolute. Yet here you are, your primitive vessel sitting in the most restricted space in the galaxy, and you claim ignorance? Wait, interrupted Chen from his station. Commander, I'm detecting modifications to our hull. Extensive modifications, symbols, writings in languages I don't recognize. And our power signature, it's been altered. We're generating energy patterns that shouldn't be possible with our reactor design. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. When were these modifications made? According to the hull integrity sensors, they weren't. The metal shows no signs of work, no welding marks, no stress patterns. It's as if the ship was always built this way. The Admiral's image flickered, and when it stabilized, more ships had appeared behind the Vorthak fleet. Different designs, different species, but all with weapons trained on the tiny human vessel. Commander Thorne, the Admiral continued, you have one solar rotation to provide answers. How did you breach the nexus point? What is your mission here? And most importantly, the alien leaned forward, and Zara could swear she felt its presence despite the light years of distance that should separate them. What have the architects told you? The architects? Zara asked, but the transmission had already ended. As she turned to face her equally confused crew, everything lurched. Dr. Tanaka gasped, pointing at her medical readouts. Commander, our neural patterns are spiking. All of us simultaneously. It's like something is trying to... She never finished the sentence. Light, impossibly bright and impossibly dark at the same time, flooded the bridge. Zara heard music that wasn't sound, felt mathematics that weren't numbers, tasted colors that had no names. In that moment of synesthesia, a memory that wasn't hers flooded her mind. A memory of choosing to forget, of accepting a test she didn't understand, of her ship being selected for something beyond human comprehension. Then as suddenly as it began, it stopped. But the bridge was no longer empty of visitors. A figure stood there, neither matter nor energy, neither present nor absent. It looked at them with eyes that weren't eyes, and when it spoke, the words appeared directly in their understanding without passing through their ears. The test continues, it said. You chose to forget so you could choose freely. Now you must remember so you can choose again. The nexus point has been waiting for a species capable of bridging the gap. You have 7 rotations to prove humanity is that species, or the opportunity passes to another. The figure began to fade, but Zara found her voice. Wait, what test? What opportunity? What are you? The being paused in its dissolution, and something like amusement rippled through the bridge. We are what you call the architects. We built the barriers that divide the galaxy, and we have waited 10,000 years for a species with the correct neural plasticity to serve as translators for what comes next. Your ship, Commander Thorne, passed through our barriers not because you broke them, but because your minds are capable of existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously, a trait unique to your species. But we don't remember. Memory is linear. Existence is not. You will remember when you need to. For now, know this. The other species fear what they don't understand, and they don't understand how you're here. Convince them you belong, or lose humanity's chance to stand among the stars as equals rather than subjects. The figure vanished completely, leaving the bridge crew staring at each other in stunned silence. Outside, the alien fleet waited for answers the humans didn't have. On the sensors, something vast began moving in the impossible structure at the heart of the nexus point, something that had been sleeping for 10 millennia. And in Zara's mind, memories that weren't quite memories began to stir, showing her glimpses of a choice she'd made but couldn't remember. A test humanity had volunteered for without knowing it, and a future that depended on the next 7 days. The chronometer on the bridge began counting down from 168 hours, though no one had programmed it to do so. Whatever was coming, whatever test awaited them, it had already begun. The truth unveiled. The memories came in waves, each one more disorienting than the last. Zara gripped the command chair as images flooded her mind. Not her past, but her future past. Decisions made in timelines that hadn't happened yet, or had happened and been erased. Commander, Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the chaos. I'm reading massive neural activity in all crew members. Our brains are literally rewiring themselves, creating new pathways that shouldn't be possible with human neurology. It's not just our brains, Chen added. his fingers dancing across his console with newfound knowledge. I understand these modifications now. The symbols on our hull, they're not just decorative. They're a kind of quantum interface, allowing our ship to exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The view screen flashed, and Admiral Vrexkar reappeared, but this time accompanied by representatives from what seemed like every major galactic power. The crystalline form of a Zealothi, the massive bulk of a Gron, the ethereal presence of a Sirene, all watching. "All waiting! Commander Thorne," the Admiral began. "The Architect probe that just scanned your vessel has confirmed what we feared. You carry their mark. This changes everything." "Admiral," Zara said, standing straighter as more memories clicked into place. "I'm beginning to remember. 3 months ago, Earth time, we encountered an anomaly during our jump to Kepler 442. Our hyperdrive malfunctioned, but instead of destroying us, we found ourselves somewhere else, somewhere between spaces." She paused, the memory crystallizing. "The Architects were waiting. They said they'd been monitoring humanity since we developed quantum consciousness, the ability to hold multiple conflicting ideas simultaneously without resolving them. It's what allows us to create art, to believe in things we can't prove, to hope against logic." The Zealothi representative chimed, its crystalline body resonating with harmonics that translated as skepticism. "No species has ever communicated directly with the Architects and retained their sanity. They exist in dimensions our minds cannot process." "That's exactly the point," Torres interjected, his security training overlaid with new understanding. "Humans have a neural quirk. We can compartmentalize trauma, hold contradictory beliefs, experience cognitive dissonance without breakdown. We can believe in science and spirituality simultaneously, hold love and hate for the same person, plan for the future while living in the present. The Architects called it quantum consciousness." Dr. Tanaka pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans. "Look at this. Our neural patterns are fluctuating between states that should be mutually exclusive. We're literally thinking in quantum superposition. The Architects didn't choose us despite our contradictions. They chose us because of them." The massive structure at the heart of the nexus point pulsed, and suddenly every screen in every ship across the gathered fleet displayed the same image. The Architect from the bridge, but now somehow more solid, more present. "The test concludes," it announced to all. "For 10,000 years we have maintained the barriers between sectors, preventing the wars that once consumed galaxies. But our time as Guardians ends. A new threat comes from beyond the cosmic web, entities that exist in pure thought, predators of consciousness itself. The galaxy needs translators, beings who can think in multiple dimensions, who can bridge the gap between the purely physical and purely mental." The being turned its impossible gaze to the human crew. "Humanity possesses the neural flexibility required. Your commander and crew have proven this by surviving the transition, by maintaining sanity while holding our knowledge. But the choice remains yours." "What choice?" Zara asked, though part of her already knew. "Become the bridges. Your species would serve as translators between the physical species of this galaxy and the defenses we're leaving behind. Some humans would be stationed at each nexus point, their consciousness expanded to interface with our technology. They would live between worlds, neither fully human nor fully other, but essential for survival." The weight of the decision pressed down on Zara. She looked at her crew, saw the same understanding dawning in their eyes. They remembered now, all of it. The initial contact, the offer, the choice to undergo the test with their memories suppressed to ensure genuine reactions. "If we refuse," she asked, "then we restore your original timeline. You never entered the nexus point. Humanity continues as it was, unaware of the greater galaxy until you're ready through natural development. But by then, without translators for our defenses, many civilizations may fall to what comes." The Admiral's multiple eyes focused on Zara with an intensity that transcended species. "Commander, the Vorthak have guarded this frontier for millennia. We've seen civilizations rise and fall. If the Architects say a threat comes that requires their intervention, then the galaxy stands at a precipice. But asking your species to sacrifice its humanity—" "We wouldn't be sacrificing it," Yuki said suddenly. Her medical understanding merged with Architect knowledge. "We'd be expanding it. The humans who volunteer would still be human, just more. Connected to something greater but retaining their core identity. It's evolution, not erasure." Chen's fingers flew across his console. "I'm receiving transmissions from Earth. Somehow they're getting through the nexus point barriers. The governments are aware of our situation. They're asking for our recommendation. Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of species-defining choice. When she opened them, she saw her crew nodding one by one. They'd all reached the same conclusion. "We need volunteers," she said to the architect. "Humans who choose this path freely, understanding what they're giving up and gaining. No conscription, no coercion. Those who serve as bridges must do so willingly." "That was always the requirement," the architect replied, and something like approval rippled through its form. "Your species' strength lies not in unity of thought, but in diversity of choice. Some will choose to bridge, others to remain fully human. Both are necessary." Torres cleared his throat. "I volunteer. My family has always served as protectors. This is just a bigger beat to walk." "I'm in too," Chen added. "To see the universe through multiple dimensions, to understand space as the architects do. It's everything I became an explorer for." One by one, across the Prometheus, crew members made their choices. Not all volunteered. About half chose to remain fully human, to return to Earth with knowledge of what was coming. The architects accepted both choices with equal respect. The Admiral watched this play out with what Zara was learning to recognize as amazement. In 10,000 years of recorded history, no species has been offered this role. Why humanity? Why now? The architect's form shifted, and for a moment, Zara could see through its perception. The galaxy is a vast web of consciousness, each species a different note in a cosmic symphony, but missing a crucial harmony. Because, the architect said, humans dream while awake. They create fiction and believe it into reality. They love what doesn't exist and mourn what never was. They are the only species we've encountered that can naturally exist in the space between real and unreal, possible and impossible. They are living bridges even without our modifications. The countdown reached 0. But instead of an ending, Zara felt a beginning. The barriers around the nexus point flickered and recalibrated, now tuned to human consciousness as well as architect technology. Across the galaxy at 12 other nexus points, human volunteers would soon take their positions, their minds expanded to perceive threats and opportunities beyond normal comprehension. "The transition begins," the architect announced. "Commander Thorne, you will return to Earth with those who chose to remain fully human. Share what you've learned. Prepare your species. In 1 solar year, the first bridge volunteers will be called. Choose them wisely." As the Prometheus began to shimmer, preparing for a transition back to Earth space that should have been impossible, Zara looked one last time at the gathered alien fleet. The Admiral raised all forearms in what she somehow knew was a salute of respect. "Welcome to the galactic community, humanity," Vrexkar said. "You've earned your place through the strangest path ever taken. But perhaps that's fitting. The galaxy needs your strangeness now." The transition hit like diving into an ocean of light. When it cleared, Earth hung before them, blue and precious and unaware that everything had just changed. But in cities across the planet, certain individuals, artists, dreamers, philosophers, scientists who thought in paradoxes, would soon feel a calling they couldn't quite explain. Humanity had always been the bridge between the logical and the impossible. Now they would literally become that bridge for an entire galaxy. And somewhere in the quantum foam between dimensions, ancient threats stirred, unaware that the cosmos had just gained its most unlikely defenders, a species that could believe 6 impossible things before breakfast and make them real, through sheer stubborn will. Dr. Tanaka summed it up perfectly as they prepared for descent. "We went looking for new worlds and found out we were the new world all along." The Prometheus descended toward Earth, carrying news that would reshape human destiny. In the space between heartbeats, between thoughts, between dreams and waking, humanity's true journey among the stars had finally begun. And in the nexus points throughout the galaxy, the architects watched and waited, their 10,000-year vigil ending as humanity's began. The bridge was built. Now it was time to see who would cross it, and what they would become on the other side.